forgot to say that Dr. Miller's also featured this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Wonderful. I love the ability of music, especially chant like that, to create an atmosphere for us to sink into, for prayer, because that's what we're talking about this month. The mindset that goes with prayer. What is that all about? To the point where we're really looking at some of the older ideas around prayer to investigate them and come up with perhaps a more superstitious, free way of thinking about prayer. We've even invented a new word for prayer. We say spiritual mind treatment, because the word prayer itself evokes so many thoughts about what we're doing that it's quite a job to dismantle all of that. And I'm aware that if you're visiting with us for the first time, each month we have this focus, so it might feel a bit as if you're walking into a room where a conversation has already taken place, and that's really what's going on. So I take a moment each week to do a kind of a check-in about what are we talking about. Well, we're talking about prayer, and we're using this book, Miracle Prayer by Dr. Susan Shumsky, to be one of our resources as we go along, as well as the textbook of our faith tradition, The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And we've got topics listed for every week, but I don't know that we can keep up with the material. I don't know that I can, because it's so rich and there's so much to talk about. For example, the topic today is about the law of karma, which is a little bit further on in the book, but I'm not there yet. I read it and I went, oh my goodness, that is rich material. I don't agree with some of the stuff in there, and I love reading material that I don't agree with. It really stimulates thinking. In fact, I was saying in the earlier service, a gentleman came to me and said, some 10 years ago, when he first arrived at the church, the first thing he heard me say from the pulpit was, you shouldn't believe everything I say. Which was so shocking to him and liberating at the same time, and that's exactly it. So we have a book here, and it's got all of this stuff about karma, and, well, I don't know if I agree with it, but it's stimulating, because what she's doing is investigating that kind of thinking around good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished, and there's this system in the spiritual universe, and is it so? Because that has something to do with our thoughts around how prayer works. Really important stuff. But we have to rewind, come back to pick up where we were with last week, because we were getting some excellent clues from one of our heroes, and that is Jesus of Nazareth. A real fundamental clue to the mindset that allows prayer to really work for us. And it's this, that he said it in a specific way. It's not me. There's a power in me that does the work. In his specific words, he said, it is not I, but the Father within that doeth the work. And so we take that and say it this way, for it to be gender inclusive. We say it's not me, but there's a power within me that does the work. And that's really important, especially in our modern metaphysical movement, where it can seem to be, it's about me, push it through, work it through, do something, I've got to think right. No, there's a power in you that does the work. A real nice relationship to get to. So that's where we got to. And we're continuing this morning to get some additional clues from his teaching about this mindset that nurtures prayer. It's so interesting how different faith traditions will focus on different teachings from Jesus, for example, we have our own focus. I'm sure there isn't widespread agreement about what we think, but certainly we take stuff from his ministry that helps us understand prayer very well. For example, he said, you have divinity within you. We really focus in on that. So he said, you have divinity within you. In fact, he said it in an extended way several times. One of the ways he said, is the kingdom of God is within you. And then this beautiful clue, he said, so seek ye first that, and then everything else will be added to you. That's the paraphrase of it. Absolutely wonderful. The kingdom of God is within you. See, it can't be glossed over that. The kingdom of God is within you. And then what would be the kingdom of God in our language? Well, reality with a big R. The everythingness of being. It's inside of you. So look for that. And then when you have a relationship with it, everything else seems to move. So that's a great shift in perspective. Don't be going around looking for things that are going to make your life happy. Things and stuff and doing and position. No, and that's not the instruction from one of our heroes. It's no, go to where the kingdom is. Look for that first and then watch how things shift. Amazing. You know what else he said? He said, ask, and you shall receive. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. And I think sometimes people have read that and taken it to mean, ask for any good thing that you want. Well, I suppose that's true too, but I'm thinking there's an additional way to look at that. Ask for what? Guidance. Knowledge. Right knowing, understanding. Look for that. Seek. You'll find that. Knock means investigate. Delve into that. That's where the asking, seeking, and knocking is going to be good for you. And, our founder, Ernest Holmes, was very much into that. In fact, he spent a good deal of his time in what he called contemplation. Maybe even more time in contemplation than in prayer or meditation. And one of his favorite things to do would be to take a phrase that was moving and sit with it all day and just see what it would reveal in him. In fact, he gave us a kind of caution, said, don't focus overly on prayer. Because there's this other part that goes with it. Contemplation, the asking for guidance. Because it's so yummy, prayer. It's the part where you're going to get in and tell God what to do. Easy to move right over all of this first part where you sit down and hear what God inside you is telling you what to do. That's the seeking. That's the ask. There is within me a kingdom of God. And I seek that. I root myself in that. And out of that, now I know what to pray for. See, I want to find that and have a right relationship with it so that I can wrap my prayer around what is the right thing for me to pray instead of making up what it is I think is the right thing for my life. There is a rightness for me, a greatness for me. This is why we teach in the classes how to be still, how to sit still and listen to that still, quiet voice of God, because that is a lifetime job to figure it out. It takes maturity. What is the still, quiet voice? What is intuition? What is intuition in me, and what's my mother's voice? How do I tell the difference between what is spirit, what is life showing me, and what are all the images I get from advertising about what I'm supposed to want? What is the ground of all being holding in me for the integrity of my being to prosper? And how can I tell the difference between that and what my culture demands of me? There's a work. Seek, sit in that and ask. And we teach that. One of the processes we teach is visioning. There's visualization where you make up an idea for your life, which is a beautiful tool. We'll learn about that. But visioning is where we sit in the question. I don't know what it is I ought to pray for. What is it? Let me sit with that. It takes time and maturity and quiet to sit in that and let that come from the wisdom within me. And then what else Jesus said is also, don't think somebody else ought to be doing this work for you. Sure, you can have help along the path, but it's you. And he said it in a specific way. He said, in the midst of doing miraculous things, he said, greater works than these you shall do also. See, really important information. Oh, he's talking about me. He's talking about you. You can do this work. And so we get to shift in our depth as we really take that into our heart. It's me.